Has the Democratic Party arrived at its Menshevik moment? What? The Columbia University students whose encampment just got the school's graduation canceled may not know much about the Middle Eastern peace process.
5 minutes to leave the premises. 5 minutes.
But given the extent to which Marxist thought has been taught on elite campuses in decades past, I'll bet most know a lot about the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks.
I feel very depressed. I think it's a black day for the university when we need to do this sort of thing.
No attempt here is being made to suggest we're on the brink of the Russian Revolution. Rather, it is to highlight the Biden Democrats' internal struggle in an election year to choose between the sometimes violent Gaza protesters and their traditional Jewish supporters.
The reason we are here is because of men and women like this statue behind us. And we cannot remain silent when our symbols of freedom are desecrated by individuals who clearly hate our country and hate our way of life.
The historical reality is that the Mensheviks considered themselves the moderate wing of the Russian Revolution. But by 1917, the smash-and-grab Bolsheviks had pushed out the Mensheviks, who faded into history, or worse.
The claims that we've been seeing are completely baseless, the anti-Semitism claims.
Here in the U.S., it has become impossible not to notice how much of the Democratic left's most aggressive, often consciously destructive strategies are attacks on liberal institutions and cities. That includes an almost laughable march against, get this, the Metropolitan Museum's Fashion Gala. What an irony that the institutions and faculty that thought they were preparing a progressive vanguard to transform America are themselves now the object of the revolution.
Unlike the adult brain, the juvenile brain actually is fairly easily reprogrammed with the right levels of intervention.
The progressive prosecutor movement emerged overwhelmingly through the electorates of such blue cities as those suffering the worst of the protests today. And many of their ideas came from progressive academics in law schools such as Columbia, Yale, and Michigan.
They've taken the prosecutorial discretion to the extreme. They just said, we're not going to prosecute this law, we're not going to prosecute that law.
It was presented as a benign alternative to policing and incarceration.
Good afternoon.
Today, the reality looks more Bolshevikian.
The problem with the minor thefts, in my view, is that the district attorneys either don't want to bother or they're just not concerned. They think it's a crime of poverty, and of course, the vast majority of instances is certainly not.
Consider defund the police. Many cops concluded after the 2020 George Floyd protests that all but eliminating policing itself was the goal of the simultaneous multi-city protests. Chicago, host to August Democratic Convention, is down more than 1,500 officers from 2019.
You know, I've been someone who's been a part of large-scale protests. In fact, black liberation is tied to large-scale protests. We just want to make sure that it is done in a safe and secure area so that that right to assemble doesn't get taken over by individuals who may have other interests.
It was more than a week before President Biden made a statement criticizing the encampment lawlessness. Little wonder the people behind hammering Columbia and UCLA plan to hit the Chicago Convention. It'll only be a misdemeanor.
This may be Biden's Vietnam. I worry very much that President Biden is putting himself in a position where he has alienated not just young people, but a lot of the Democratic base in terms of his views on Israel and this war.
A particularly appalling image has emerged from the campus protest at George Washington University. It is the famous statue of George Washington, his head completely wrapped in a checkered keffiyeh, a large Palestinian flag over his shoulders, and his body covered with pro-Palestinian stickers.
He could have stopped this genocide back in October. He could stop it now, but he won't, because that's what empire does. Destroys, kills, steals, and devastates developing nations across the world for its own economic interests. Israel kills with impunity because Biden and the Democrats allow it to.
One might think serious Democrats would see something more has come into play here beyond progressive ideology. An organized left, currently under the cover of the Palestinian flag, is attempting a takeover and ultimately the ruin of liberal universities and cities. They'd wrap President Genocide Joe Biden in a keffiyeh too, if they could, and they'll be looking for that opportunity before November.